This weekend, Strongman sees the return of the one and only JF Caron. So Danis Aivars is running this contest for the second year in Latvia, doing big things to improve strongman in the region. Obviously a great competitor himself, but now there's a lot of up-and-coming Latvians that are into strongman, and he's put together a great roster for this contest.
And such an interesting set of events as well. It's quite different, isn't it?
Very, very different. So this competition takes place on Saturday. It's going to start at 4 p.m. UK time. It'll be 6 p.m. local time. There will be a link in the description if you would like to watch this competition. Obviously, we mentioned the return of JF Caron, but some interesting events. We'll go through some of the athletes, but let's go through these events because they're very different. And I think if you're into sort of old school, rustic style, logs, awkward kind of objects, things that are hard to prepare for, I think you're going to like this one. So 3 of these events are going to be involving this ramp that Liz will put up on the screen. And it's quite interesting. I mean, we've seen a couple of training videos now from what athletes are doing. This is going to be quite brutal, I think.
It's going to be really brutal. And I just think it's so interesting how they're utilising this one piece of equipment in 3 different ways for this competition. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, let's go through the events, starting off with event number 1.
So the first way this ramp is going to be used is for a log load. Now, I'm going to pop a little video up on the screen so you can see it's almost lifted like a finger's finger. There's going to be 6 logs that they have to load this way. The athlete will be going backwards and forwards each side. So it's going to be, it's a strange one, isn't it?
It is. It's not the easiest thing to train for. It's a little bit kind of, rustic and rural. I think it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah. So sticking with the wooden log theme, the next event is kind of like an arm over arm pull. Reminds me very much, although the equipment is different, of the winch that they used in the World's Strongest Man group stages. I can't remember the year, but it was the year Magnus Magnuson did not make the final when he was the reigning champion.
I can't quite remember, but they're going to be kind of pulling these logs. Almost like an arm over arm, like you say, but it's on this attachment, and every sort of few, I'm not sure on the distance, but an extra log is kind of added. So it's going to get harder and harder the kind of further they get into this event.
So then we're back to the ramp for event number 3, and they're using it for the deadlift. Now, I love this idea, but it looks brutal. So the athlete will be moving the bar up the ramp as they progress through this deadlift series. It's 9 lifts in total, the heaviest being 420. So kind of a deadlift ladder, but you take your bar with you.
And that element is going to be interesting, having to kind of move up a step, get your bar sat in. You can't roll this type of deadlift, so you're going to need to make sure your feet are in the right position. This is going to be brutal. I mean, 9 reps alone is brutal, but if they're finishing around 420, I can't actually see anyone lifting the last few weights.
And that's with JF and Rauno in this lineup.
Even with those guys, I can't see anyone kind of doing the whole lot. But it's a new event. We don't actually know how hard it is. I have seen it tested, and it looked brutal.
It looks rough.
Based on what I've seen some big, strong guys doing on it, I can't see anyone doing the whole lot, but very interesting, very different setup for a deadlift, which I think is really cool.
The 4th event is a Viking press, again with logs. Not exactly certain of the setup on this one, maybe a little bit more standard.
I think so. Using the logs again, Viking press, obviously overhead. Need an overhead test in a strongman competition, and that's what we've got in this one.
Event number 5, we're back to the ramp again, and this time, and I love this, it is being used as a wheelbarrow with the car on the end of the ramp, and athletes are allowed straps, so because it's going to be brutally heavy, isn't it?
I'm not sure how heavy it is, but
heavy.
Visually it looks impressive. It's big, huge. They've got a big car that's kind of up on this ramp. And it's just massive. I mean, we see various different types of wheelbarrows in strongman. This is one of the biggest that I've ever seen. If I would say this is the biggest,
it has to be the biggest.
I've ever seen used. So I think visually it's going to look amazing. I'm sure some of the athletes at this point are going to be glad that they're allowed straps because they're going to one in particular. And that kind of, it does make a big difference if you don't have to worry about grip, but you're such a strong deadlifter, it's going to help a lot. So, it could be an interesting factor. See what kind of, 6 events it's going to be in like a fairly short period of time.
And the final event is a natural stone load. Now they are using 5 stones in total. There's such a huge dump. So the lightest stone is 140 kilos. Then it's 145, 160, 165 with that final 5th stone weighing 194
so that is
kilos.
A big jump up for that last one.
Massive jump up, yeah.
And natural stones are always different, you can't really train a natural stone because they all feel different. It's about figuring it out on the day, looking for spots that it's easier to get your hands on, figuring out spots that are easier to kind of get over your knees. It's one of those events that the more experienced guys maybe will be a little bit better at. Or sometimes the local guys that have been able to train on the specific kit, obviously that makes a huge difference. So, we've got a real mix of new up-and-coming Latvian athletes versus some seasoned pros and some, returning older, very experienced pros. And talking of very experienced pros returning, we're excited to see JF Caron back in action. We saw that horrific injury that everyone thought was the end of him.
He thought it too. He said it himself, didn't he? I think this will be it.
He came onto my podcast and we spoke, and it's just been so good to see him getting back into the gym and now to actually be returning. And when you talk to him, he's feeling in good shape.
Well, we just spoke to him on FaceTime.
We did, yeah.
And he looks great. He looks like old JF.
He's such a chilled guy. He's not the kind of athlete that gets there all kind of flustered and stressed and worried.
Never.
He's chilled, laid back. He's been doing this for so many years. He knows he's strong. He's got that kind of self-belief in himself. And I think, you're talking to him, he's excited to compete.
Yeah, and he's got 3 competitions this year. So this is obviously the first one. The next one is going to be the Magnus Ver Magnusson Classic. And then finally, he's doing the World's Strongest Master in West Virginia this year.
He's going to be a real problem for absolutely everyone. But, just from a friend's point of view, I'm so pleased to see him competing. Hoping he does really well this weekend. We've got a number of, friends competing this weekend. Very quickly, just going through some of the bigger names that you guys might know that will be competing in this one. Aivars Smaukstelis, obviously a local hero in this competition. I'm sure he's going to want to do very, very well. Rauno Heinla, obviously another very good friend of us and the channel. JF Caron. We've got Pavlo Kordiyaka, who is the current Europe's strongest man. He won his Champions League last weekend. He's got the Giants Live World Open next weekend. He's a very, very busy man right now.
Busy man.
Youngest Lalas brother Mantus is doing this one. Very, very good strongman. Paul Smith is doing this. Kevin Ferris. So, there's some really big names competing in this competition. I haven't got a clue in terms of predictions, just because the events are so random. There's a lot of kind of, question marks on what kind of shape athletes are in.
Yeah, it's a hard one to call, but we all get to watch it for free. There is a free live stream which will be included both in the description, and I'm going to pin it to the top of the comments as well.
Yeah. Have you got a go-to prediction?
I feel like Aivars and Rauno are having an advantage here, having trained on this equipment. Other Latvian guys as well, although obviously we don't know what sort of level they're at. They're new to us. JF, you can never count out JF, and JF is so experienced and adept at just getting on with it, not really knowing what he's going into, but doing it anyway, because he's just one of those guys, isn't he?
He is.
Pavlo Kordiyaka, you can never ever count out. He looked good at Strongman Champions League last weekend.
Really, really good. Yeah, I would kind of agree with you. I think Aivars is going to be, home soil. He's going to want to put on a performance. Yeah. But look out for the other names as well. Yeah. I mean, Kevin could do very well in this.
Of course, Kevin. Paul Smith as well. It's a hard one to call.
It really is. I'm not even going to put a prediction on this one because I have no idea what's going to happen. I do hope that JF Caron is fit, healthy, and gets through injury-free. But best of luck to all the athletes. We'll be tuning in to watch the live stream. The link will be in the description below. Let us know your thoughts. Do you like the look of these more old-school, rustic events? I say old-school. They're new, but they've got that kind of old feel about them.
They've got that old strongman feel of just awkward objects and random events. I love it, personally.
I know some people that will absolutely love it. And some people maybe not so much, but I think that's what's great is we're seeing these different types of shows. Some people really love the Magnus Ver Magnusson Classic, and I think this has got that same kind of feel to it.
It feels kind of like the Shaw Classic meets the Magnus Ver Magnusson Classic. Do you know what I mean? With the car and everything else. It's just, I really like it. And Latvia in November, they're going to have the elements to deal with because it's all outside as well, I believe. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts, guys. As always,
it's October.
So guys, if you are interested in watching, check out the link in the description below. Let us know your thoughts as always, and if you enjoyed the channel, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. We'll catch you guys next time.